In this module, we'll explore two components of TestFit, the Schemes tab and the Office layer. In the Data Output panel along the bottom here, we have the Schemes tab. If we open it, you'll notice we have a single scheme currently, and the second location is here at the top of the nav tree, we have Schemes. Currently, we have a single scheme. If we click this plus sign right here, it says Add Scheme. We now have two schemes. If we click the plus sign here, we now have three schemes. Our schemes are all identical. If we head to the second scheme and return to the Sites layer, we want to go ahead and change the preset that we used on Site A. So from an earlier module, we talked about selecting the preset and then changing it. So we're going to go ahead and change our preset here to Data Center Small. And we now notice in our nav tree, we have an Office layer. If we select it, in Canvas, all of the offices light up. Now it's using a very similar shade of blue to our building. So let's go ahead and change that to something like green. And as you can see, in all of our buildings, we have a green office. If we return to the first scheme, our buildings do not have this office layer. So what we would like to do is add an office to these existing data centers by clicking the three dots at the end of Data Center layer and selecting Add Space. And as you can see, Office 1 appears. We can go ahead and change their color to green also. And if we head into Canvas, you can select that office by clicking and holding and relocating it in your data center. So let's go ahead and put it right here and take a look at the properties of this office. First, you'll notice that its type is, of course, Office, as we had mentioned. It's green. We can control the opacity. Its shape is going to remain in Warehouse. And then we have a few target options here. We have percentage of building or area. So if we switch that to area, you can see how it switches to 20,000 square feet. We can increase that to something like 35,000. Perfect. We can align spaces to bays. So again, we just added a space to our data center. So if we turn that on, you'll see how it then fills up that entire bay area. If we turn it off, again, you'll notice how it is now free to move. As we saw earlier, you can move it anywhere. Whereas if it's aligned to the spaces, the bays, rather, stays stuck inside those bays, and I can't even pull it up against the yard because it just doesn't have the ability to do so. We're always going to want to leave our office on level 1. We can adjust its floor-to-floor height here. It will always retain the same floor-to-floor height as your data center building itself. We have an efficiency, a load factor, the number of required stalls, and then for tabulation, we of course would like to leave this as a conditioned space. Now, if you would like to add multiple offices into your building, not a problem. One of two ways of doing that. You can click the three dots at the end of your office and say duplicate. And now we have two offices. So we can move them both around. Of course, we can change the color of one of them. And again, we see them change throughout the entire site. So the reason we were using schemes here is because I wanted to compare our current site with the site on Scheme 2. You'll notice as I select those two different schemes, this bar chart here adjusts. So we may have a different value, we may have a different parking ratio or efficiency factor, or even height. So you can test multiple iterations of the same site in your project utilizing schemes.